Hi guys, how you doing? It's Friday morning, the 6 o'clock class has just finished, and I thought I'd do a quick video, or as quick as I can, based on a few questions that the coaches were getting asked by some of you around why do we do sort of higher reps at the moment. So for example, why are we doing sets of 8 in the bench press, or sets of 6 to 7 or 8, as opposed to 2s and 3s or 4s like you do towards the end of a strength block. So there's a few reasons for that. It's probably quite hard to explain in a short video exactly why. But in a sort of nutshell, there's two sides to strength development. You've got like your maximum lifts and your higher weights and low reps will develop strength. But one thing that dictates how much progress you'll make in that will be the volume that you can continually perform. So if you're doing sets of 2 or 3, then you really need to be doing high amounts of sets, like for example 6 sets, 7 sets, and you also need to be allowing for a lot of rest in between those sets. Now what we know is that works, but there's also a link between strength and muscle size. So it is beneficial to also perform exercises at an intensity and a rep range that can help promote a little bit of muscle growth as well, muscle hypertrophy it's called, which can help then further down the line lead to further gains in maximum strength when you then move towards the lower reps and the higher weights. So that is what a sort of progressive periodized program is based on. It's kind of based around that model. Now, at elite level, maybe powerlifting or elite level weightlifting, Olympic weightlifting, there isn't quite so much emphasis probably on hypertrophy. There is to a degree, but at the same time there's the weight classes, so they need to keep their weight at a certain level. But for the general person who's trying to maximise what they're trying to achieve through their training, then it makes sense to cover different bases at different points in the training year, I guess, or the training calendar. So that's one reason. Another reason is that there's slightly different metabolic responses that happen when you're lifting higher volume of weights versus lower volume. One of the main ones being that because you're doing higher volume, your heart rate's going up. So it's giving you the opportunity to tackle or tick, like I've referred to this phrase a lot, tick a few boxes at once. So if we just did strength training, maximum strength training all the time, the chances are you'd eventually plateau unless you really increased your volume, which would mean increasing your training days. But on top of that, unless you took time to then also address muscle hypertrophy training, which is slightly higher reps and slightly broader volume, then you wouldn't get as much out of the training as you could. So there's that, plus, as I said, there's a sort of general sort of muscular endurance fitness element to it. So it's giving you the chance to train muscular endurance as well as potential muscle hypertrophy or increased muscle size. The third thing for me is also that if you are being asked to focus on slightly lesser weight and higher reps, it gives you more time to make sure your technique's really good. And also because there's less strain going through your joints from the constant heavy loads, if you were going to be just constantly doing 2s and 3s, then you're less likely to get injured. So that's another reason. Another reason as well is that you're trying to create, I'm just doing this off the top of my head, right? Of various reasons. Another reason is that you're also, another benefit of hypertrophy training and another benefit of lower reps is that you're trying to create more time under tension in the muscle to allow for metabolic adaptations to happen. So that can only happen if the weight's light enough to allow you to perform the movement for a reasonable amount of time, for example 50 seconds, 55 seconds, and that's what we refer to as time under tension. So for example, that's why when I'm asking you or using the lights, we've got a 3-second eccentric and you've got a 1-second concentric. There's a 4-second rep there. So if you're doing that for 10 reps in a row, that's 40 seconds of time under tension. Whereas if you're doing 2 reps at a really heavy load, you're probably looking at 5 seconds of time under tension at the most. So in other words, we're trying to tick as many different metabolic and physiological variables in areas as we can in the time that we've got. And that's another one. You could think about time under tension. Time under tension is an important element, but just in case your mind then starts to go to, okay, so what if you did a 3 or 4 minute time under tension exercise? And in order to do that, you would obviously need to have really light weights in order to keep going. But then the problem with that is it's not just about loading the muscle eccentrically. There is a concentric element to these things. And in order for you to do something for 3 minutes of time under tension, the weight would be so light that you wouldn't be able to create enough what is called mechanical tension. So mechanical tension is probably more relevant or related to at the top of the movement when you're contracting everything in the shortened position. And you'll notice it if you go too light, you go up and down like this, and it's like there's just not a lot of mechanical tension happening, even if you're going slow like this. So yeah, the tempo is important, but it's also about creating tension within that tempo. And that's something called mechanical tension. So it's not just about time under tension, it's about mechanical tension as well. And that is why, therefore, rep ranges matter, because if you go too light and create, oh brilliant, I want to do, if 60 seconds of time under tension is great, then 4 minutes must be even better. So in order to facilitate that, I'm going to go dead light. That's not going to work. It's not going to work because there's not enough mechanical tension. And to be honest, that's the sort of time under tension you might get in a body pump class, for example. The weights are nice and light, you do millions of reps, but there's not enough mechanical tension there to allow a strength adaptation or a hypertrophy adaptation of any real sort. And if there is, it's only for a beginner, but it would quickly drop off because there's no progressive overload. So that's the far end of the spectrum for like too light. The opposite end of the spectrum, if you're just constantly doing your 1 rep maxes and your 2s and your 3s, there's not enough volume there. You're not addressing muscle hypertrophy too much. You're a wee bit, but not much. You're not addressing muscular endurance. You're not addressing the opportunity to improve your technique through controlled multiple reps. There's more reasons than that. I'm just thinking off the top of my head at 7 o'clock in the morning, right? So in a nutshell, that's some of the reasons. I hope that helps. It might not, but those that are asking, I hope it helps. If it doesn't, please let me know. If you want more information, I can make a bigger video, but it's already 7 minutes. I told myself I'd make it a 3-minute video. It's already 7 minutes, but I could talk all day about this stuff. Anyway, cheers.